this is my pet peeve. This is my pet peeve of the SEC. Do they know nothing about owning the news cycle? Like it's so weird. Maybe it's a little weird right now because you don't know the schedule for 2026 or what the SEC was going to do. But the season is starting and now we're dropping this bombshell about what's going to happen in 2026. I feel like it was the same thing. It was like when the playoff was happening and they announced we're going to a 12-team playoff like in a year or two. It's like every time, like, and then when you want people to care about the postseason, it's like 90% of the sport cares about, their recruiting class or whatever percentage of teams coach got fired, they're trying to replace him. Like it's just so hectic, and they never the NFL knows how to dominate the news cycle. It's like college is always just doing things at weird times. But the big news we got was that the SEC is going to move to a 9-game conference schedule, and with 3 locked rivals, 6 rotating teams. I've said this for a couple years, like people talked about the pods and stuff and like the different. I was like, no, the only way to do it is the 3 locked rivals, 6 you got to go to 9 games. Like that was the only way in this 16-team league. That was the only way that you were going to have a legitimate conference. Otherwise, you're just like SEC in name only. Like we've talked about, Georgia still hasn't played at Texas A&M. They've been in the conference for 13 years and they haven't gone to College Station. It's the weirdest thing. So now everyone's going to play everyone twice in a 4-year period. Like it's going to be amazing. And then everyone's got to play the 1 Power 4 matchup on top of that 9-game schedules. But what was your first thoughts when they came up with this news?
Finally, my first thought was finally. It's ridiculous that they had been dragging their feet with this for so long, and there were people legitimately arguing that no, it's okay for the SEC to expand and not add a conference game, as if that makes any sense. No, I mean, if you have 16 teams in your conference, you should be playing that extra game, buddy. Yeah, this is a very good thing, I would say, for fans of college football overall, that they don't have to watch Georgia play, Charlotte or UMass in November anymore.
Hey, that's not off the table, sir. They still get those 2 cupcakes in there.
Yeah. Well, if you are a fan of an SEC school, I feel like you have to be kind of conflicted because it's definitely more exciting overall to just have more SEC games. I think we both think the SEC is the strongest conference in college football, so it's always good to have more games from that conference. But also, it's like the SEC is going to be beating up on itself more now. You're gonna be seeing more 3-loss SEC schools that would normally be 2-loss teams, and it'll be really interesting to see how that impacts playoff seeding. Of course, they might expand the playoff itself. That's a whole other thing. But
yeah, I guess that is exactly what they're gonna do. Unfortunately. Yeah, and I wonder, and now you look at future years Georgia's got, like I'm looking at 2027, they have Florida State and Louisville. I mean, that's 12 Power 4 conference opponents on their schedule that year. You look at 2030, they're supposed to play Clemson and Ohio State that year. You tell me Georgia's going to play 9 conference games and Clemson and Ohio State.
They're taking one of those off so fast. Yeah. They might take both of them off.
Yeah, I know Ohio State had a home and home agreed to in the 20 teens, and I think they took that off the schedule. So we'll see if Georgia Ohio State's just the that regular season home and home that we can't get. But the 3 games, I know you've seen multiple people do this already since they announced the 3 locked rivals and the 6 rotating games. So I like to take the liberty to do it myself as well, sir. So if you see the screen here, you got everyone's got 3 locked rivals, and I will say this is very difficult. A lot of people want to be like, "Oh, it's so easy. Georgia and Tennessee have to play every. Oh, you can't not have Auburn and LSU playing every. Yeah, it's like I get it. I'm a traditionalist like everyone else, but it's really hard when you're actually having to line these games up and everyone gets one of these 3 locked opponents. So this is what I have for every single team. I don't know. I probably shouldn't just read through this, but what are your first thoughts when you see this? Are any of these that stand out?
Yeah, from a Georgia fan perspective, I think the first thing that sticks out to you is not playing Tennessee every year. And your my first thought is what the heck, man? That needs to be happening, like what you're saying. But then you think about it and you go, well, hey, if Tennessee has, they only have 3 locked in spots that they play every year, it's like, well, they have to play Vanderbilt every year and they have to play
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. And to be honest, I mean, Tennessee, Florida means more to those respective programs than I think Tennessee, Georgia does, as much as that stings to admit as a Georgia fan. So those are Tennessee's big 3 rivalries right there. Georgia, of course, the 2 non-negotiables for them are Florida and Auburn. And yeah, I think you have the conversation that I've seen has been a debate between Kentucky and South Carolina for that 3rd spot for Georgia. And this is just my opinion. I would much rather see Georgia play South Carolina every year than play Kentucky, because no disrespect to Kentucky or their fans, but every single year leading into the game week that Georgia plays Kentucky, I feel nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've been to one, and then I mean, there's been 2 games, Georgia Kentucky games in the last, I don't know, in the Kirby era, that were like legitimately deciding the SEC East.
Yes,
Like, and those games meant nothing. Like, I
they
think
felt.
was Kentucky game day in 2021. I
Yes,
know
it
it was like a
was.
top 10 matchup,
Yeah,
right?
it was game day because
And
they
it's
had
like,
Will Levis.
yeah, and it's like I didn't for 1 second think we were gonna lose that
No,
game. Like it didn't feel like the town. I don't feel like Athens had like the same kind of big game kind of
no,
energy that it kind of does, and like the Tennessee game I went to last year. I don't know. It's just, and then the 2018, that was like a late November game too. Like winner gets in the SEC championship, and it's like, okay. And Georgia, they felt over by the end of the first quarter. DeAndre Swift, one of his better games in his Georgia career. But yeah, I'm with you. I felt like Georgia's always kind of felt like South Carolina's like Super Bowl, like not like trying to throw shade like fans do on Twitter or anything, but it just feels like that's the biggest game to South Carolina. And so I personally felt like that one had to be in there. But I think the thing everyone gets caught up on, because I think Kentucky's a perfect example, is they want to make the 3 games as even as possible. And I think that's where people get really just misguided in this argument. Because you look at Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. How are we playing Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU every year? Meanwhile, Kentucky's playing South Carolina and Mississippi State and Vanderbilt every year. And it's like that's a legitimate question if you're playing a 3-game schedule, but you're going to have 6 rotating opponents.
yeah,
And look at who Kentucky's opponents are in the year 1 rotation: Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. And then the next year it'll be Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. Where is the easy schedule in there? Like
yeah,
everyone is going to have a gauntlet. So I think people are getting caught up on like, let's try to make these 3 games even versus no, we need to make it like try to preserve as many like just traditional rivalries as we can in those 3 locked games.
yeah. I'm 100% with you. I really don't think it's important at all to be considering like balancing it out there, because yeah, like you said, the focus when college, particularly now, it's more important than ever to preserve these traditional rivalries when it comes to college football, just because we have things like this happening where conferences are changing unrecognizably every offseason, and the playoff is about to be 50 teams and the regular season is not about to matter at all. So like it's pretty important that we still have the Iron Bowl every year, man.
For
um
sure. We're
and
gonna have
like
a bunch of. I saw. I don't know. Not to interrupt you. You've seen that Nate Bargatze, SNL George Washington
yeah, yeah,
sketch. I
of
saw
course.
someone posted over the weekend that was like, "We're gonna have 100,000 seat stadiums to play college football," and it's like,
Yeah.
"Are we gonna play in those stadiums,
Oh,
sir?" Like, no, no, of course not. We're
we're
gonna
gonna play
play
in
in
NFL
neutral
stadiums.
sided NFL stadiums and
Yeah.
in Ireland.
No,
But sorry, I didn't mean to
absolutely.
interrupt you.
No, yeah. Like I was just gonna say, like, yeah, you don't want to get into that line of thinking, because then it's like then you're getting rid of the LSU Bama game because you don't want to make LSU's schedule too hard every year. And it's like, no, that's the wrong way of thinking, man. I think we need to be getting as many rivalries as you can to fit within the math. And then if Kentucky's 3 yearly SEC opponents are like too easy, that's fine, man. That's honestly fine. You know what? The SEC is going to be a bloodbath no matter what combination of teams that you're playing in it. And if we can give Kentucky a little bit of help out here, I think we should.
Yeah, sure, but they're not going to get any help. There's no scenario where they're
I'm just saying, let them play Vanderbilt every year. Like, that's fine. Like,
yeah, no, that is fair. And I feel like it's Kentucky, South Carolina feels like annually, though both of those teams, it definitely felt like it last year. Obviously, those two teams turned out to be way different last year, but it feels like an early season game where it's like, okay, this is a crossroads moment with South Carolina and Kentucky. Which team's going to be the worst in the SEC? Which one's going to be like pretty solid this year? Okay. It's like if we lose this one, we have no hopes of competing at all.
They really do take turns doing that, don't they? Where one of them will be like, "Oh, look at these guys," and then the other team will win like 4 games.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is a fun exercise. I'll go and post this on Twitter as well. See what the folks think about my schedule.
What's the biggest we've talked about this a couple times on here, but I want to get your straight up answer. What's the biggest loss of an annual game that's on here that we couldn't get fit in here? Besides Georgia versus Tennessee.
Because some of those are the ones I said, yeah, at the start. Georgia, Tennessee is probably the biggest one that sticks out to me as a Georgia fan. But I don't know if it's just, the era I grew up in. But I feel like Auburn LSU was always like a late September, just like gritty, like hard-hitting game. Like Auburn LSU, like if you remember that LSU team who blew out everyone in 2019, that Auburn game was a battle. It was like 22-20 or something like that. Like it was, I don't know. There's something about Auburn, LSU. I remember the 2004 one when Auburn won and then ended up going undefeated that year. And I think they won 10-9, scored a touchdown in like the final minute. It was like, that's just what Auburn LSU is every year.
Yeah, I agree with that one as well. And then the other one that I'll throw at you is Alabama Ole Miss. That rivalry has lent itself to some of the craziest, zaniest moments / games that I've ever seen in my life. Shout out to Chad Kelly. And I feel like it's a great disservice to our beautiful game that Alabama Ole Miss will not be happening every year. I really do love that rivalry.
Yeah, that's a good call. Honestly, LSU Ole Miss too. Feels like kind of a historic one.
I didn't realize that was on there. That's
because I'm looking at, for one, LSU A&M. Like it's like when you're actually pairing everyone up with their first rival, LSU A&M just kind of gets stuck together at the end.
Well,
and it's like
classic now though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's classic now.
That is true. And then the LSU Arkansas, they got a trophy. So it's like, that's a guarantee, And then LSU Bama is honestly one. It's like, that's not a historic rivalry per se, but it's like over the last decade and a half, it's just been so many big games. It's like, that's kind of how I feel about Tennessee, Florida. Like, I'm not sure Tennessee, Florida actually has any sort of history that some of these other ones don't, that some of these others do, but like, it was just that 90s period where Tennessee, Florida was so great. But because like Auburn, Florida, like that was a traditional rivalry. They played every year until like 2002 or something when they changed the schedules up. But it's like Auburn is the closest SEC school to Florida. So it's like, it kind of makes sense that Florida and Auburn would be a rivalry. So like two teams like that shouldn't go that long without playing each other as well. So, but that's the good thing about this schedule now is like any that you're losing in one year, you're now getting every other year. So
yeah, that's right.
It is like a silver lining. And I know Florida fans, I think, get upset like Oklahoma getting paired up with them a lot too. They just played in that one national championship game. And then that bowl game that no one cared about in 2020 when Florida benched all their starters and everything. I was really
That's
excited that, like, we've talked about the All-Star game before. I
Dude,
was really excited about that Florida
game.
Oklahoma.
I forgot that game even happened. That was such a
Yeah.
that was a gross, disgusting
And
game.
Kyle Trask played and nobody else did, and it was
Yep.
like his worst game of his whole
Yeah.
career. It was terrible.
Yeah. Shout out to Kyle Trask for playing in that game though, because that was cool. Like he had no reason to be there other than just like love of the game. So shout out to Kyle Trask.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like I guess, and it's just like when you end up pairing teams together, it's like Oklahoma, Florida just get kind of stuck. But yeah, some of these aren't necessarily what you would think of as rivals. You got Missouri, Oklahoma, you know, historic Big 12 teams. Like, yeah, you could throw them in there. But like Mississippi State, Auburn, I'm sure no one considers that a rivalry, but they've played every year for probably like 100 years or something, you know. So I don't know.
Mississippi
And
State.
in Texas, Arkansas seems like they embrace the Texas rivalry. So it's like that one, that one's got its history. So yeah, some of these have like their three like clear rivals. Some are unnegotiable, non-negotiable, I should say. Like Alabama and Arkansas are kind of like, okay, those have to be their teams. And then some of them, like you said, Vanderbilt kind of messes a lot of it up because like Vanderbilt, Tennessee, it's an in-state rival that has to happen. But yeah, this was I think for anyone looking at this, what your hypothetical schedule could be in a year, it's going to be a gauntlet, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm honestly kind of pleasantly surprised looking at this system that there's not we just named a couple rivalries that, you know, we're sad to see go as an annual thing. But like there's nothing really that I've seen, you know, set the internet on fire today or anything where it's like how, and I know the official locks have not been announced yet, but I don't anticipate there ever being a something where it's like, how are these teams not playing each other every year? You know, like I think they generally did a pretty good job of getting the games that you need to have on there, and then those kind of secondary, more auxiliary rivalries, like they do suck to part with, but like we're getting them every other year, like you said, versus like the system that they just had where it was 8 games, and now Georgia might not have ever played Texas A&M ever again if we didn't add this 9th game. So I really am pleased with. I think considering how crazy conferences have gotten and everything, I'm pleased to see the SEC arrive at this system. I think it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, because we don't even know how long it took to get through the rotation the way they were doing it because they never actually got through it. Like we still haven't played at Texas A&M, and like Alabama goes to Georgia in 2015, and now they're coming to Georgia again in 2025. Like I don't know, it's all kind of messed up. And that's another one I forgot. Florida LSU has been a great rivalry in recent years. So it's like that's be another one you lose every year, but I think some of those to lose every year to gain some other ones, or to lose some of these every year is worth it to gain some of these other ones every other year. So I think it'll be worth it. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know how they're going to determine how these 8-4 teams and with these schedules stack up to 11-1 Big Ten teams, but I don't know. As long as we get 4 teams or so in the playoff, I guess it's all good.